it's Mrs. Nandor, and in this video we're going to look at what is density and how do we find and use density. So let's start with the definition. Density is the amount of matter in 1 unit of volume. So it's the amount of matter in 1 unit of volume. So if we have 1 milliliter, the density is how many grams it has in that 1 milliliter. So the volume is always standard. It's in 1 unit of volume, and then it's a measure of how much mass or how much matter is in it. So let's talk about the units. So the amount of matter, or the mass, we measure in grams. So it's always going to be grams per a volume unit. So our common volume units that we're going to use, especially when we're working with density, are grams per milliliter and grams per centimeter cubed. So say, for example, I have a substance that has a density of 2.7 grams per milliliter. This means that in 1 milliliter of the substance, that 1 milliliter is going to have a mass of 2.7 grams. So if I were to measure out exactly 1 milliliter, I should anticipate my balance to read 2.7 grams. So that's how we read that. For the equation, it's a very simple equation. Density is equal to the mass divided by the volume. So we're taking the numbers that we get for grams and milliliters, or grams and centimeters cubed, and we're simply dividing them. It's always mass divided by volume. So let's look at an example. First example reads, a substance has a mass of 10 grams and a volume of 5 milliliters. Calculate the density. So we know that density equals mass divided by volume. So my mass is 10 grams. My volume is 5 milliliters. Now my units aren't going to cancel. We can't do grams divided by milliliters with our units. So our units are going to stay grams per milliliter. But if I divide by numbers, 10 divided by 5 is 2. So this substance has a density of 2 grams per milliliter. So if I were to measure out 1 milliliter of the substance, it should have a density of 2. Let's look at another way to use this, because we don't always just straight calculate density. So in this example, we have an object that has a mass of 25 grams. If the density of the object is 5 grams per milliliter, what's the volume of the object? And so we're going to use our information in a little bit of a different way. So we know that we have 25 grams. And we're going to use our density as a conversion factor. So what our density says is that for every 5 grams, we have 1 milliliter of the substance. Now, I want my grams to go away because I want my milliliters. So I'm going to put my grams units on the bottom, milliliters on the top. My grams units will cancel. I'll be left with milliliters, which is good. That's what I want, because the question asks, what is the volume of the object? Now, I'm going to go back to my density. My density says for every 1 milliliter, I have 5 grams. So I've already taken care of my units. My grams were on the top and the bottom, so they canceled, and I'm left with milliliters. So I'm going to do 25 times 1 divided by 5, which gets me 5 milliliters. So for this object, it has a mass of 25. There are 5 grams for every milliliter. It means it has a volume of 5 milliliters. So we can use density to find the mass or the volume of the object if we know the mass or the volume and the density. So we can use density as a conversion factor to go between mass and volume for a specific substance.